Welcome back, the fans of Let's Be Real podcast to another preview episode. We're gonna preview I think it's the final stretch of the four away games in the league at the San Mames against Athletic Bilbao, which is gonna kick off Wednesday evening, Central European time. And to preview that game and also kind of catch up on the game at the weekend against Girona, I'm together with Sahel. How are you doing, man? Just take me through that game at the weekend, man. How was it?
Yeah, I didn't watch it. I was at the F1 race and I watched a few highlights, but we were not, and I'll be honest about this. Um, I actually was looking forward to us breaking our winless streak, and I failed to do so, man. We failed to do so, like miserably, because even from even from like the statistics, shots, and you can't score a goal in all sessions, all the shots, because you're creating the chances. You clearly have a mid, but on the night, it's just not good enough to break down a defense that's in the relegation zone, and that is something that is something because we're considering this team to at least be able to win La Liga, right? Like we're not counting on this team to very far in the Champions League, like beyond the quarters or the semis, maybe. Uh, but as far as domestic success is concerned, that's one of the few things that is important this year because we actually had quite a bit of a head in Barcelona. When we won the Clasico, and now suddenly that means because we're 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 not even level. I think we're a point behind with Barca, uh, and Barca look all set to stretch that lead if we keep playing the way we are. We're in the midst of some of our poorest away form. Like that is one of the biggest questions that have been asked of Xabi Alonso's team this year, and there are other questions that he has managed to shut up and move past, or where he's labeled his critics in accurately incorrect. Like he has been on the wrong side of some arguments, but this one I don't think he can really hour away from with anything right now because, like you said, this is the fourth of our format, and we're yet to win. I mean, I know we won at Olympiacos, but that was not in the league.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Like, we are seeing, as you said, like, like a test of the metal that, what Xavi Alonso and maybe, maybe even his coaching staff is made of. The point now becomes this: we're starting, we had a 3-game stretch. This is going to be the fourth, and it's winless. And then when you see these games on trial, it's Elche and it's Girona, and come on, like this is not Girona of 2 seasons. We're like winless in either of these 3 games, and all the goodwill and everything that was gathered after the Clasico with the 5 point cushion. 5 point cushion becomes a 1 point deficit, and if Barcelona takes care of business against Atletico Madrid today, we're gonna start the game tomorrow 4 points behind. Basically in the space of 1 month, the 5 points gap has basically gone down the toilet. And the more even worrying thing of this aspect is that this is a Barcelona side that like everyone knows that like they are not firing on all cylinders. Like these are Barcelona side that like are basically what are not what they were last season. Basically like they are not even up to par yet, and all of a sudden we find a way to throw away a 5 point cushion in the space of a month. Like that's even the more worrying aspect of this.
No, absolutely. So you saw that video of Hansi Flick, where he was dejected after that Barcelona game.
Yeah, I saw
Like
it.
he
I saw
clearly,
him and Rafinha. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
yeah, that is clearly not a team that's functioning at best, and
Yeah.
neither are Atletico Madrid. Atletico Madrid are in fourth, with some of their poorest form in recent seasons, but this kind of collapse with the league, it was set that was it should have been stretched to 8, 9 into the December break. Um, but like you mentioned, it be just a 1 or a 4 point deficit, which is very depressing. If we're not well, particularly in any competition, like even the Olympiacos was scared for me. If not for Mbappe's poker that day, we would have been in deep trouble. We, we struggled defensively. We conceded twice, uh, and it's just the kind of chances we keep getting. Farouk. in layman's terms, we're conceding the chances to very poor attacking units. These are not teams who should be doing more on us. Um, and Athletic Bilbao, historically been a very physic taxing game for us, particularly over at the San Mames. So yeah, for the change, they haven't been the most consistent best this year against the Ernesto. Even I think even last year the away numbers was a really tough one for us. We lost 2-1, I think, and they regularly give a tough challenge like Real Madrid. So I know we said we on the preview for Girona when we were speaking about this, we kind of took that forward and we expected a very positive result. Um, and so now as well, but I'm not nearly optimistic about Athletic Bilbao purely because they have hurt us in the past.
Yeah, and you're actually very right, because also like Bilbao, like they basically are not giving you any easy point, and the point here is they have 13 points out of a possible 21. Like that's not a bad return. So that just goes to show their prowess. Yeah, it's gonna be quite interesting to see how that happens. How Xabi Alonso kinds of counters the issue that we're facing, because right now like there is no creativity, there is no yeah, there is no creativity. There's literally no fight in the middle of the park, and the defense is all over the place. So it's I mean, we had 21 shots and we had to score a penalty against you know in the game
Against Girona, yeah.
against Girona. It's like insane. So this is just the thing. Like you look at this and like, okay, like what's the point of all shots and all this, and then you look at the amount of attacking talent and the firepower you have in him, and it's just nothing to write home about. So
There's literally
Xavi
no
has got
excuses
his
for
work cut for him.
there's
Yeah,
literally no excuses.
exactly.
We had one hell of a summer window. It's not as if we have the biggest injury list in the world. I know we've had a few players out, but worse situations than this when it comes to injuries. Right. The only thing you can do just is a lack of leadership, and just the body language of these players doesn't seem right because they aren't even confident in what they're supposed to get right on a basic level. You see Vinicius making elementary mistakes when he gets the ball. You see um, even a player of Bellingham's caliber, even a player of Trent Alexander-Arnold's caliber, um, these guys are world class, but they should not be looking clueless on the pitch. And that's honestly and frankly, that's what we've been seeing for years now. And not against quality opposition as such. These are very good sides, but these are not teams that should be hurting on such a casual level.
Yeah, and that's absolutely true. Like actually, like you look at the game, the goal we conceded against Girona as well. The indecision between the left back, also or rather the right back in this case, Trent, and also the center back. Then the space is created, and all of a sudden, Unai is there to stab the shot home, like basically open space. There is no reason to not score from that distance. It's quite as you said, like these are professionals, so like this is basically like on at this level, like those kind of errors, those kind of mistakes are gonna definitely be punished. No one is gonna, give you a field day with those kind of situations. But the point is, okay, when if you go down, you should be able to, to rally back yourself up. Like, I mean, this is if I remember correctly, that the Girona were like the worst defensive team in the league when we played them.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if the stats have updated this week. They were the worst defensive team in the league when we played them, but we could not, uh, get a goal out from open play. It's really, yeah, it's absolutely sad. Like of course, like it was a very good pen. Like I mean, a pen is a pen, anyways. Like it was a a good move from Vinicius Junior that led to the pen. Great, Kylian Mbappe dispatched it, but yeah, we never looked like like we were eventually gonna find a goal somehow. We never looked like that. We just looked like we're just gonna keep playing a lot of pedestrian walk. A lot of, yeah, just a lot of sideways passing, a lot of going down dead alleys and stuff like that. Like the players need to like be able to like find solutions, in-game solutions. Like we talked about this also, I think, on the preview about that winning mentality. Like the players need to be able to understand that, okay, even if the coach is saying, let's do this, this is not working for now. On the pitch, you have to make an in-game decision to adapt, adjust to whatever the opposition is throwing at you. But then you go to games, against Girona, against Rayo, against Elche, and you make these guys look like wall
Yeah,
beaters,
it all looks too rigid. Yeah, it all looks too rigid. Absolutely.
Yeah. So this is the thing. Like, I mean, it's basically more of like the same. I don't know, like what we're seeing this season, what we're seeing has changed. Literally, almost nothing here. The personnel has changed, but
Mm.
we're just seeing more of the same. Like there is absolutely nothing. You have to wait for a moment of inspiration, moment of individual brilliance, as we saw against Olympiacos. Like, I mean, it was 4 goals from Kylian Mbappe. I mean, okay, yeah, some of the goals were really well created, but the point is that you need Kylian Mbappe to score 4 goals basically to win in Greece.
Yeah,
This is also the point there.
and
Also,
it's not a one-off. It's
it's
been happening all season.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's the point. It's not a one-off. Like this is basically the bread and butter of like this club. And I'm saying like we've seen this since last season. Like so from last season till now, what has changed? You understand? The personnel has changed, the coaches have changed, but still the same. Still the same,
Yeah.
honestly. And
No,
I don't know, man.
and
Like
I think a lot of the fan base had their own criticisms of Carlo Ancelotti and what his ways were, but one of these were that he had his favorites and that he consistently fielded an 11. Some people had a problem with that, in terms of injuries. Some people, again, the favoritism argument. I think what Xabi Alonso has done, he's not doing himself any favors in terms of his lineups, because he's just gone to the other extreme. And I don't think 13, 14 games into the league season, he knows what his best starting 11 is, especially with the defense in such disarray. Regardless of injuries or not, there has to be starters who are consistently making the 11. I don't know if Trent is the starting lineup, and in the best starting lineup when Carvajal is fit. I'm not sure if our two starting centre backs are Militao or Rudiger, or Militao and Hosen. Um, I don't know if Fran Garcia plays over Mendy, and Carreras is clearly the starting left back, but there's way too many games where he just seems to experiment with something different. But I think the time for that is gone now. Like, um, with the league title in in jeopardy, uh, we have to look for solutions that are long term, like that will last us towards up until the end of the season. You can't look for a fix. That's You can't just play Fran Garcia because he's going to do well in this game. Like that might be a one-off thing to do, but uh, you know it unsettles the team, especially the back four. You can't keep playing around with it. And that's part of my issue with Xabi Alonso, because like I said, he's not doing himself any favors. And what happens then is that as a result of that, you don't see consistent enough patterns down on the pitch. Like, you don't see these players. Um, Even if I take an example of the past, right? When, as you mentioned, when things don't go right, when your plan A doesn't work, you fall back on something that you have, right? And that used to be back in those days to cross the ball into Cristiano or into Benzema, right? We used to be called Cross and Inshallah FC. I don't see consistent patterns like that. I don't see us falling back on something like that. It's not like we don't have the tools to. It's not like we have a player with remarkable vision in Arda Güler, who can pick a pass from nowhere. We have Trent, whose his distribution and his range is just not being used on any level in this team. Um,
yep.
and I'm very happy to say that, because that's one of the things that he brings to any side that he plays. And we see England make most of it with overlapping runs on the left, because again they play in a back three. We saw Liverpool in the past make good use of his distribution. I don't see that. So these are things that Xabi Alonso needs to address, and I don't think like there is enough pressure on him from the media and from the supporters, and even from the club. I'm sure his job must be in jeopardy right now with these results. But these are things that I'm sure he'll have prepared for, when he took the Real Madrid job.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Like, it's as you rightly pointed, like it's 14, 15 games into the season. Like I understand, like, nothing is won right now, and nothing is distributed right now, but I expected at least to start to see, patterns emerge, to start to see like, the stamp of what Xavi is trying to do on the team. And
Yeah,
I kind of feel like we've gone in the reverse direction, actually. I feel like, we started the season, you could try to see what he was trying to do, like players were winning ball back quickly up the pitch, in the position half and stuff like that. But right now, I think all of that is gone, all of that is gone. Like all that energy, all that momentum. I see it's gone. Like we're literally like we've gone in the reverse direction because I remember the first few games of the season, I was like, yeah, sure, these guys are gonna have like it's gonna take a bit of time, but at least I can see what Alonso wants this guys to do. But right now, like yeah, I'm just like it feels like the same. It feels like the last season of Carlo. It feels like more these guys are just freestyling on the pitch and trying to find solutions that do not exist. Well, I guess again maybe like you might say we are judging him too harshly this early into the tenure, or what it is not considering also like he's trying to overhaul the team, change what the team has done, change the culture, the patterns, and all these things. Well, again, yeah, we can only judge on what we've seen so far. And as I said, like like you see trends, you see little patterns. I mean, we saw what Hansi Flick did at Barcelona, right? We saw the significant, the drastic change you had between Xavi Hernandez and Hansi Flick. But here we are, like stuck there. So we've seen the blueprint that it is possible actually for you to have that switch. Now we've seen that our change also in coaches, but we're more or less regressing back towards what we've seen in the last season. And I just don't know how much more we can take of this. I know, like, I'm not saying like Xabi Alonso's job is on the line or Xavi should be fired or whatever. No, but like
yeah,
solutions need to be found. This is just the point. Like solutions need to be found. Like these 4 games or 5 games before the winter break, all the Champions League maybe next week. So City is not firing on all cylinders here. Valid point, but still the point is like we need to start clicking into gear. We need to start clicking into gear because slowly and slowly the seasons crunch period are coming.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
Athletic Bilbao are no mean feat. They're down in eighth. Um, Frankly, I think a team of their history and of their of the squad they have, they should be in the top six, but they are in eighth. But you can never underestimate a team. If you can't underestimate Girona, then uh, you know, don't even think of
exactly.
underestimating a team like Bilbao.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true, honestly. Like, and Bilbao, I mean, if you remember, we lost the game at the San Mames last year, actually. So,
Yeah,
uh, yeah, so that's already that tells you all you need to know. But yeah, we go into the game. Like players like Nico Williams, absolutely gonna torment us. And I mean, and I think they're gonna target Trent. Like with Nico Williams, they're just gonna put Nico on Trent and just try to torture him defensively as much as possible. So that's going to be quite an interesting one because we know that Carvalho still remains injured. So we expect Trent to continue to do what, to continue to start the games. But it's going to be quite interesting to see how we're able to handle that. Militao and Rudiger are back. So,
yeah,
we expect to see those guys continue as well. Maybe they can also help somehow. But again, I feel like that leadership, like Rudiger, I think to some extent, has never been that leader. I think David Alaba was a leader, but right now, his injuries and also age, like his best days are past him. So I don't know how much he can offer. But Tony Rudiger, at least, maybe could bring a bit of a semblance of stability, or a semblance of leadership, as at least he, works himself back to form and fitness. At least I hope, he can be a marshal for the backline, and maybe also when Carvajal comes back as well, he can help build that. But the point is, like, these guys are no leaders, honestly. If there's anyone that I believe is a leader, and honestly, it's David Alaba. But right now, I don't think um, he's able to contribute. Because the point is, like, you need your leaders, you need your captains to be on the pitch. Basically. But David Alaba, as I said, is he's way past his best. No, man. Like, what do you anticipate seeing in terms of the lineup against Athletic Bilbao?
yeah. I think Militao and Rudiger are going to start things central defense ahead of Thibaut Courtois. Um, because Hausen and Raul Asensio seem to be out still with injury. I think Alvaro Carreras will make a return in his usual starting spot. Trent will start as well, and like you said, that will be an interesting matchup. Like we've seen
Yeah.
Trent defend better than he used to in bursts, but overall there seems still to be something lacking with his. It's not his defensive ability; it's his defensive work ethic. Like he isn't where he would be expected to be half the time, and that usually means that someone like Militao has to step in and go far out wide, which creates additional space in the box, which is unfortunate. So that's going to be the backline. I think Camavinga will come in. Valverde, Tchouaméni, Jude. Camavinga, Valverde, Tchouaméni, Jude. Yeah, and then Mbappe and Vinicius to finish the starting 11 off.
Okay, that's yeah. Camavinga.
Yeah, that's pretty standard. I
Yeah.
know,
So
and one would even think that. I mean, if had we come into this game with a string of positive results, I would have even considered uh, the possibility of Xabi resting one or two of his players. But with this kind of form going into Manchester City, uh, I still don't feel confident, dropping one of our most important players if we choose to, rest him and Mbappe. I don't think we have a, a natural replacement for Mbappe right now who's, scoring with the kind of form he is. So you can't afford to drop players like Valverde and Mbappe. Maybe you take them off early if the 3 points are in the bag. But even with Manchester City looming, we have to play our strongest 11.
like I said, Mames is not a place you go to rotate players, and also putting into the with the context you give as well. We have been really, really, basically. I mean, we are winless. That's the thing. We are winless in three. So the point is, you can't go into these games, like benching the players or no. Like the point is either you are reshuffling to give, people a kick up the backside, or you're finding something, and you rightly pointed, we do not have a replacement for the goals that Kylian Mbappe gives us. And right now, really looks like he's the only one that has maybe created a goal or something like that, as we saw against Olympiacos, and also we saw that he was the guy who won the penalty as well. So like that's the thing. Like it's not just we do not have the luxury of doing anything right now. So it's a bit bleak, honestly, on our side. So I do get what, but what about Arda Güler, man? Like we talk about this eye for a pass and everything. Like what would you say he needs to improve on the most? Like what would you like highlight?
Yeah, I think his positioning is superb when when Real Madrid have the ball. Uh, what he does with the ball, it doesn't need to be spoken about. What he does without it is kind of confusing to me because he's had a little bit of time to learn from these guys and to sort of develop a liking for chasing the ball down, and he does it out of spite sometimes. If the manager's sort of uh, screaming at him. I remember Carlo Ancelotti used to do it a lot. um, I don't think Xabi Alonso expects quite the same from him. I don't think he expects same level of work ethic or defensive uh, game management from him when we are not on the ball. But I do think that you need to keep structure if if you're playing without the ball, right? I think that's one thing that's really really important. But apart from that, again, I don't see Real Madrid distributing the ball or playing a long pass on the other side like Cruz used to Carvajal. I really think if not Trent, it's got to be Arda uh, picking a pass out to either Kylian Mbappe or Alvaro Carreras. That's something that we can and should capitalize on because we have left back with exceptional crossing ability, um, and the same goes for Trent. Like we haven't seen anyone with really combine with him to the potential that he has to combine with other players, um, be it Valverde or Arda. I would love to see one of them, play more in Trent's vicinity on that right hand side. So yeah, those are just a little bit of a couple of things that Arda can uh, bring, add to his game. And Shabi clearly trusts him. Like he is one of the players who consistently starts, consistently gets praise on his performances from Xabi Alonso in the in his press conferences, but he can't possibly be shielded forever, right? Like he has to have some sort of criticism. If his numbers by the end of the season, his assist numbers for Mbappe look good, then there's not much that you can say to a player like him, because he's still a work in the progress. But I would love to see him cement a position for himself in midfield, even if he has to play in the same 11 as Jude, which hasn't really caused too many problems so far.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think you rightly pointed out the issue there. I mean, what he
Farouk, are you there?
Yeah, actually, I got disconnected for a bit. Sorry about that.
All right. I hope we're still streaming.
Yeah, we still good. We
All
still
right.
good.
Yeah, you can continue.
Yeah, actually, I was talking about the point about like like you talked about the defensive position. Like the out of position. Like the position out of position. I think that's something that really he needs to work on. Or rather, the point now becomes that this is where the issue comes, right? Do you want to play him as a defensive pivot when you don't have that defensive monster around? You was playing as a deep line playmaker. You had a lot of workaholics around him as well. We had Reno Gattuso, you had Clarence Seedorf, and later when he moved to, you had like Arturo Vidal, you had Pogba, you had Marquinhos, you had working forces to actually like kind of mask and shield, that how should I say, like Chelsea and with a player like Andre Pirlo basically like makes no sense. Like, I mean, he had his shortcomings, but like they definitely were not deficiencies. So this is the thing. But then like when you look at the system that Xavi is playing with Arda Güler, Arda is like exposed. Like there is no one masking those deficiencies there.
Yeah.
You understand? It's the same. It's also actually goes back to what you talked about with Trent Alexander-Arnold, and I think we talked about it also on the preview. The point is, to what extent like does the risk outweigh the reward? With Trent, like we saw what Toni Kroos does to Carvajal, and we've seen what Trent has done with Mohamed Salah, what he used to do with Sadio Mane, with and the Robertson, those across the field switches that he was making. Now at our club, he cannot make that play. Like it's so, yeah, it just doesn't. You're not giving him the opportunity to like showcase the skills. So this is where the problem now comes. This is the issue there, like that I have right now is like, okay, you're using Arda in this position, but you have to mask the deficiencies to highlight,
Yeah.
the greatness in there. This is just the truth. On the other hand, Trent, we're playing with Trent. Okay, it's fine. Let's play with Trent. But then you bought Trent and using him. If you're not, because everyone knows that Trent is just average defender, or even maybe a below average defender. Like this is just the reality of it. For me, I'm fine with this. I don't care because I know what Trent is. I know who he is.
Yeah.
If there is even any that is. You understand? But then why is it that you're putting these people in a position whereby those deficiencies are being masked, whereby rather than the world class talent that they have is made to shine. So this is
Yeah.
where we come back again to like you have to ask players to like hug the touchline. You need to ask players as wide as possible. You need to make those overlapping runs. So someone like Trent can fish them out. Someone like Arda Güler can fish them out. Because for me, I kind of feel like maybe we're asking too much of Arda too soon. Because
No,
when you
yeah,
look at
yeah,
Arda's
I
career,
agree.
like he's played
I agree.
as a
He
10
has
and as a winger all through.
consistently been asked to, do things that he's not naturally capable of. Like Ancelotti played
Exactly.
him, and Ancelotti and Xavi, both of them are guilty of this. Ancelotti consistently sent him off the bench to play as a right winger. He does not have the pace or the or the pace or the stamina to run up and down that right wing. Uh, the only thing that benefits him is his left foot. And even in midfield, I think Xabi he has gotten the best out of him in moments, but over a period of time, you can't help but feel like he is not being used to his best potential in that particular position in midfield. But that could also be because Jude is also playing in the same lineup, and you can't. Um, and I think Arda has improved in terms of his combative abilities. Like he does go into a lot more tackles, a lot more aerial duels, and he doesn't win all of them. Certainly, he's not capable of being a Chouameni. Uh, but he has improved that side of his game. But again, if you put him in a position that doesn't suit his play style, that's not going to benefit anyone.
Yeah, that's very unfortunately honestly. But anyways, we can sit here and talk about this and that.
Yeah, and
Always,
that's
anyways.
exactly why I don't have him in my expected 11, Farouk. Athletic Bilbao are an extremely physical side. They will make you run out of your skin for
Yeah.
even a 1-0 victory. So
Actually, for me, the point that like I've always pondered in my mind is the same thing that I have with like Vinicius and Kylian Mbappe. Like in the long run, do you see a situation whereby Jude and Arda Güler are able to function in the same team? For me personally, I think like Jude has to be given a more withdrawn role. But the point is, Jude came and scored, I don't know, 1 million goals in his first season, and all of a sudden, like everyone, I mean, we just have to keep playing him, as close to the box as possible. This is just the reality of things. But the point is also, our midfield is so easily bypassed. If you place Jude deeper, in my opinion, I know this is not, no one has this opinion other than me. In my opinion, if you put Jude a bit deeper, you kind of mask that deficiencies. You
yeah,
reduce getting overrun in the middle
that's
of
what
the
happened
park a
last
lot.
season. That's what happened
Because
last season.
let's not forget, like Jude actually came to us as a central midfielder, not an attacking midfielder.
Yep.
It was just the ingenious of Carlo Ancelotti to find a solution, more or less. That's how you came across this. But the issue that, at least for me, from my perspective, when you have Vinicius Junior and Kylian Mbappe on the team, you don't need Jude to score 20 goals. You don't need even Jude to score 15 goals. 8, 9 goals is fine, which is what he usually does at Borussia Dortmund. Put him back in that position and shuffle the middle of the park. Go back to the basics. First and foremost, tackle, outrun your options, win back possession, push the ball, move out of the defense because I think this is what Jude can offer us. Really, like I personally think like I don't know if you remember like what Pogba was doing for Juve in those Max Allegri era. You win back the ball, Pogba runs up the pitch immediately, quickly. You understand like that quick transition from defense to offense. The strike that Jude has, and also the ability that he has to actually the ability he has on the ball, the ability he has to actually control the ball, the ability he has to not lose the ball, that physical presence that he has, I think can be used a lot to actually advance the ball quickly, under pressure. But the issue now becomes that Jude has scored that 1 billion goals in the first season, and all of it now he has to play as close to the ball. And this is just, an issue that I feel like also affects the dynamics of the midfield. Of course, in my opinion, I don't know if Arda is gonna be able to continue with the team or not in the long run. I'm not too sure about that. I know that Arda has his good things, and he has also, the side that he needs to develop. Can he develop that? Of course, absolutely he can in the long run. But just as of right now, I feel like maybe a role swap with what Jude is like. Rather than putting Jude closer to the box, put Arda closer to the box and give Jude, a more traditional role. It's what you actually bought him from the very first situation, at least to create that stability in the middle of the park. After that, then we can tinker.
I have nothing to say honestly. That makes perfect sense, but how much of that gets implemented with Xabi? I think Xabi is thinking about a million different things right now.
Yeah, actually, I agree with you. I don't think any of that gets implemented because also I feel like the point is even when you ask the fan base, like it's gonna be like, yo, bro, like I mean, even Thomas Tuchel said that like Jude is one of the best number 10s that exist in the world. Okay, that's it. Like for him, he can say that because he has Declan Rice to hold down he has Declan Rice to like partner his midfielders and whatever what is not. So like he has that mobility, he has that ability to bring the ball up so quickly. But again, a name that you mentioned in your expected lineup is Eduardo Camavinga. So let's see if Camavinga can make that step. He could be that player as well. But can he make the step? This is the point. Like Kamavinga and Tchouaméni have been here for years and years, but we haven't seen that giant leap. So we've saw the leap. You remember, like everyone knew what Vitinha was, but all of a sudden Vitinha has made that leap. Really, Vitinha finished third in the Ballon d'Or, but like our players have not made that leap. Tchouaméni and Kamavinga, they have not been able to make that leap from okay, these are really good players. They have a great potential to actually becoming world class players. Because when you look at the top teams in the world right now, do these guys get into the
I
like
don't.
does Tchouaméni and Kamavinga get into the midfield?
No, not even anywhere close because they haven't been able to mold their games in the way that Vitinha has. And Vitinha he's an absolutely complete midfielder. Like when you watch him play, it,
Yes,
it reminds you of Marco Verratti. Like he can do absolutely anything
exactly.
on the pitch. I don't think
Yes, sir.
Chouameni or
Yes, sir. I think
Camavinga has,
that's a very
they
good
came to Real
comparison,
Madrid with
honestly.
potential. They came to Real Madrid with potential and two or three things that they could do extremely well. And they have gotten better with those specific attributes, but they have not developed anything that's outside of their range as such. That's the part that really disappoints me because they have that potential. Like I'm not asking the same of
What it
young
is, honestly,
style,
it's quite
right?
unfortunate, but
But
yeah,
with these two, it's different.
exactly, exactly. Actually, the thing that actually you see is that because you saw what Kamavinga could offer in flashes, in the season where we won the double the first season,
Yeah.
and you expect that leap, you expect that movement up. I mean, even Declan Rice, man, like you see the jump that Rice has made, when he joined Arsenal, from West Ham to Arsenal, like the jump he has made is insane. You see the development arc that also Rodri had at Man City, you see what Alexis McAllister was, like so we're seeing like how this all the players are like able to make that jump, but like for some reason like Tchouaméni and Kamavinga, of course, like injury has played a big role for these two players as well. Let's not like deny that. Let's not take that away. Like injury has played a big role as well, but unfortunately, they've not been able to make that leap for one reason or another. But here we are, like just talking about that again. I do still feel like, we have to find a way to break a bank, or not even break a bank, but like at least find a midfielder that has a different profile.
Um, yeah, I don't know about finding a midfielder in this current market that suits what we need at the moment because you also have to remember that we have a squad that is abundant with midfielders who can all do different things. We're just not, managing their styles and their positions to what fits Xabi Alonso's system well. And I think that's what Carlo Ancelotti was so good at, right? Like he was just good at putting people in their positions and trusting them to do their job consistently. I don't think Xabi is able at the moment. He's too young a coach to be able to commit to that philosophy. Um,
I'm
where
sorry, let me just interrupt you there, sir. I don't want to be like, like someone who like, like is like slighting a legend like Carlo, but when you say Carlo is someone who puts people in the right positions, bro, you're
yeah,
talking about like two of the three of the best players who ever played the game. You go to
I
like
get that.
players like Andre Pirlo, like you talk about players like Toni Kroos. You're talking about like players like Frank
I
Lampard.
get
You're
that.
talking about players like Luka Modric. You're talking about players like Cristiano Ronaldo. We're not talking about Tchouaméni and Kamavinga. This is the
It's not
point.
like it's not like Ancelotti didn't have young players. It's not like he didn't have players who, uh, had positional like issues where I think one of the few that ones that he messed up was Arda Güler. But outside of that, I think he got most of them right. And I know it seems like an easy thing to do, and when Ancelotti does it with the same squad, it seems easy. But like he was the one who implemented Jude. Like you just mentioned some time ago, Jude his position. Same goes for Mbappe in his first season. So those are two examples that I think I will use to defend my argument. Um,
But what I'm saying here is that the point I'm trying to make is like when you look at these players, like when you look at the team that Carlo had, Carlo did not need to go and instruct players what to do or how to arrive at stuff. You understand? You're looking at the teams like, for instance, the AC Milan team. You're looking at
mhm.
players like you're looking at players like Nesta, players like Cafu, players like Pilo. Like you don't need to tell these guys to. I mean, these guys are gonna tell what to do. These guys are gonna tell Alex Pato what to do. These guys are gonna like tell Shevchenko what to do.
No,
You get the
undoubtedly
point.
not. Yeah,
The
yeah.
Chelsea team, like players like players like
Yeah,
John Terry, players like they were like seasoned winners, like players like Didier, players like it's like they're gonna tell people, bro, we saw games whereby Cristiano and Guardiola actually changed wings because it wasn't working.
hmm.
Since we started watching Real Madrid, since Vinicius came, how many times have you seen Vinicius go to the other side of the pitch?
Unless he's being told to. Yeah, no, he doesn't do that. These players don't have the same level of
So this is
ambition or
this
game
is the point
sense.
I'm trying to make. I
I agree.
understand,
Yeah, I
like,
agree
okay,
about that.
this and that, but I'm just saying, like, the profile of the players you have are different.
No, I get that, but you have to consider what Carlo did at Real Madrid. Then, like Jude and Mbappe are two examples. I can also recall how many times he actually, had the sense to slot Camavinga and Valverde into unusual positions and actually make it work. Right. I think Raul Asensio also played a few games at right back. I don't know how effectively that worked, but as far as playing players out of their position or even in their best position, finding their best positions goes. I think Carlo did a wonderful job at that. It's a little bit more complicated, certainly, for someone like Xabi Alonso, who doesn't have at his disposal players who would figure things out on their own. And I don't deny that, but Xavi has to work, a little bit harder on that because, like I said, he doesn't know their best position. Some of these players, and he doesn't have a lineup which he can resort to.
Yeah, no, we just have to, agree to agree and disagree somewhere in, otherwise, like, this whole thing is gonna keep going on. But yeah, like, I mean, coach, like, arguably the best European coach ever, but yeah, the ball changing, man, the game is changing, and we're seeing that with younger or rather newer generation of players. And yeah, we touched on the lineup, Sahel. So I think let's just go to the predictions. Since you
Yeah.
went with the lineup, let me go with the predictions. I think it's going to be another winless outing for Real Madrid. I think a 2-2 draw at the San Mames.
Oh man, come on. This has to end somewhere. We go into Man City with four draws. You say?
Now, actually, we have a game at the weekend, right? We have Celta Vigo at the Bernabeu.
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah, we have Vigo at the Bernabeu, and then we have City at the Bernabeu as well.
Okay. I mean, another tough away game. So I'm just gonna say we win it, but slightest of margins, 1-0.
1-0 victory for Real Madrid. Wow, even with the clean sheet, man. I would have gotten a 2-1, but a 1-0. Okay, I get
Slightly
you. I
risky, I
get
know.
you. I really, yeah, I really do hope we get to win this game. But man, honestly, I'm not that confident going into the
No,
game.
I don't think we can go all guns
Because
blazing anymore. I don't think we can afford to have 25 shots in a game like this because Athletic Bilbao are gonna
yeah,
outrun you on their home soil. You have to be conservative and take your chance and then just look to keep that lead. I think that hopefully that's what we're gonna do.
fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. All right, people. I guess with that we can slowly wrap up. I think it's been quite an interesting chat with Sahel. We had a bit of an internet issue. I hope it didn't affect the stream that much.
Yeah,
But yeah, anyways, just a shout out to our sponsors, Talksport. We're officially part of the Talksport Fan Network. You can find a link to that in the descriptions. And also shout out to our partners at Real Madrid on Instagram, Real Madrid Committee. You can also check them out, check their Instagram page out. Also the link in the description below. And yeah, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification button. Until next time, we sign off by saying Hala Madrid.
Hello, Madrid boys.